Hello kind people of YouTube and welcome back to another video. I already did my regular news update video earlier today, so if you want to get like a general market update and what's going on today, make sure to check for that. That will be on my profile, just the latest video before this one. But right now I just wanted to bring to your attention that a lot of analysts have been very bullish on Bitcoin and crypto in general the last couple days. And we have this article here from NewsBTC and an associated article from Bloomberg that is talking about just that. And I just want to go through this, look at what these analysts are saying, why they're so positive. And I feel like it's always good to have a positive outlook like this occasionally. Now keep in mind here, this article on NewsBTC, the headline part of this is eToro analyst Bitcoin crypto to end 2018 with Santa Claus rally. Now they're not only talking about this eToro analyst, but you have to keep in mind here, as can be seen here, eToro and NewsBTC are partnered. So keep that in mind here, there is a partnership going on there. So they're more likely to talk about people from eToro. But let's look at the actual article and let's read this together, shall we? As 2019 looms, analysts have sorry, I messed up on the first sentence. As 2019 looms, analysts have sought to discern where the crypto market could be heading next. While bearish sentiment is still a common sight, a growing number of industry pundits have overtly expressed their opinion that 2018's crypto winter is on the verge of kicking the bucket. Although bears regained control of the crypto market on Thursday morning, reports, which cite a number of analysts and indicators, claim that a bullish picture is being painted for Bitcoin and its altcoin brethren. And no, this is not the article that is over there, but this other article is linked in this article. Bloomberg's Vildana Hajrik, I probably mispronounced that, I'm very sorry, noted that the moving average convergence divergence, MACD, indicator pertaining to the Bloomberg Galaxy Crypto Index, parented by Mike Novogratz himself, has entered its first positive divergence in a month. While a single indicator shouldn't be the sole influence behind one's investment decisions, in the past, BCGI's move from a negative to positive divergence has been a precursor to Bitcoin rallies. And here we can see that technical indicator. This analysis lines up with Hajrik's previous crypto call, in which she noted that the directional movement index DMI indicator is signaling for Bitcoin to head higher. More specifically, DMI, a popular indicator of the trend strength of a publicly traded asset, has reportedly entered a new bullish phase, just like MACD. So we have two major indicators here pointing towards a bullish change. Matty Greenspan, a senior market analyst at eToro, was in consonance with Hajrik, with the long-term Bitcoin trader explaining to Bloomberg that the technicals in this market look great, which may be the harbinger of crypto's next bull run. Matty Greenspan is probably one of the major analysts that you see quoted frequently. Now, some of this is because he's associated with eToro, and as we see here, eToro is partnered with some major crypto pages, but also just in general, usually when he makes a prediction, it is considered newsworthy. He has a relatively good track record, I believe. And here his tweet was just boom, but he did link to an article from Bloomberg that goes into more detail. Keeping in mind that technicals are far from the full picture, Greenspan noted that the fundamentals are fantastic. While this comment was vague, the analyst seems to be pointing to the impending launch of the Intercontinental Exchange endorsed BACT, which will offer the industry's first physically backed Bitcoin futures, along with other platforms poised to make a positive impact on the future of the crypto market. So he's talking here not about the technical frameworks and the pure numbers, but about the general situation that the market is moving in, the context, the infrastructure. The eToro market specialist could also be alluding to the growth of crypto's underlying ecosystem. Consensus-backed MetaMask, for example, recently breached its 1.3 million user milestone, further cementing the thought process that Ethereum remains a popular platform even amid tumultuous market conditions in terms of the institutional side of crypto's coin. The likely catalyst behind Bitcoin's next leg upwards, research done by Alex Kruger, indicates that institutions remain enamored with digital assets. Per his calculations, an estimated $5.9 billion enter this market from the pockets of Wall Street bigwigs. Now, this is something we generally see a lot, and there have been a lot of studies done, a lot of polls that sought to find out how institutional interest in cryptocurrencies was. And pretty much every single one of them that I have seen, and a lot of them I have reported on this channel, pretty much all of them have found that institutional interest in cryptocurrencies is stronger than ever. Some have found it is going up exponentially. And this is true both of institutional interest and of just general interest. If you just ask small-time investors, just personal investors, you will also see interest going up exponentially. But of course, institutional interest comes with billions and billions of dollars attached to it. To wrap up his comments into a dainty bundle, Greenspan, touching on his years of experience in legacy capital markets, noted, "All signs are pointing to a Santa Claus rally in the cryptocurrency market." Marty's call for a Santa Claus rally comes just days after Rand, a prominent digital asset trader and analyst, pointed out that this market has already broken out of a nearly year-long falling wedge, which is a move of great importance. Rand, taking his astute analysis into account, then alluded to the fact that crypto could finally be undergoing its reversal phase, making it more than logical to assume that further rallies to the upside could be in the cards. So what we have here is essentially at least 3 major technical indicators showing a move towards a bullish market, as well as general market sentiment and infrastructure growing, interest in crypto increasing, and all these analysts, not just the ones quoted in here, but in general, if you're looking at predictions for the next year, if you're looking at what people are saying for the next couple quarters, there is near consensus that the movement appears to be to the upside. A Santa Claus rally is something we have seen every year for the past 5 years, except for one, I believe. It is very common in the crypto markets. Now, of course, we have very little data to go off for that. We only have a few years, and if there's one thing anyone should be aware of about anything statistical is you can't extrapolate from a really small sample. So 4 of the last 5 years having had Santa Claus rallies, that isn't enough evidence to say that that those are going to be common. That's not statistically relevant, because 4 out of 5 that's nothing. That can just be lucky. But in general, the signs seem to all be pointing in the same direction here. Both the technical indicators, the stance of people towards the market, and the infrastructure being built, with a lot of stuff set to happen in the next couple of weeks that could all individually launch a bull market, or at least push us more in that direction. Now, this article is heavily relying on this Bloomberg article, which of course it also quotes, "Crypto bulls get a green light on potential year-end rally." Now keep in mind here, once something like this is posted on Bloomberg, that is a lot more mainstream. That is something that traditional investors and not just crypto investors see, because this is not a crypto-focused page. This is one of the main sources that that financial experts, that traditional finance uses. Here they're quoting many of the same signifiers, the MACD here, or the DMI, but they are going a bit further in that they also elaborate on XRP, just briefly. XRP, the cryptocurrency also known as Ripple, which technically that is incorrect. Ripple is the company behind XRP, and XRP should not be called Ripple. But if you're just talking to people, like it is in common use as an alternate name for the cryptocurrency, but technically that is not correct. And the index's third largest member also moved higher this week, rallying nearly 10% since Monday, on news that a crypto exchange may list XRP on its trading platform. And it's getting relatively cyclical here, because we have here NewsBTC linking to Bloomberg, and then they are linking to an article on NewsBTC. And let's finish this video up by also reading this, because it is looking like XRP might be a strong factor in whatever bull market may happen, because XRP has of course dragged the markets the last couple days, with some uncertainty as to why, but one theory seems to be that more and more people now believe that XRP will be added to Coinbase in the near future. One of the world's leading cryptocurrency exchanges may list Ripple's XRP on its trading platform. While the rumor stands unconfirmed, its impact is already visible on the XRP market cap, which has come close to surpassing that of Ethereum. The token on Tuesday surged as much as 26%, we don't need to read this part. Initial theories suggested that Ripple's expansion into the Middle East caused the XRP rally, but the signals of Coinbase, a US-based crypto exchange adding XRP to its platform, started eclipsing the earlier hypothesis. The news is almost a couple of months old already, and the rumor itself is nearly 2 years old. Okay, I have my issues with this article, and that is actually the reason I opened it here. Because I do think that XRP has done spectacularly and is likely to be one of the leading factors in the next bull market. But the thing is here, there haven't been any additional signals. They're talking here as if we had gotten a rumor in the last couple days, as if someone had hinted at it, as if something had leaked. But no, actually there's nothing new here. In September, Coinbase had announced that it would add new crypto assets to its exchange. The San Francisco company explicitly stated that its priority would be more towards those digital assets that are compliant with local law. The announcement led XRP followers to believe that their token was going to be listed on the famous exchange. At the time of the news, XRP had surged 9% in a day. However, Coinbase is yet to publish the names of the digital assets it would integrate by the end of this year. In the meantime, the name Ripple got mentioned alongside the White House. There's a rumor that the Trump administration may pit a bit much more controlled XRP against the decentralized digital currency phenomenon like Bitcoin. It has led speculators to believe that getting listed on Coinbase could be a walk in the park for XRP. See how none of this is actually really connected? This is adding random parts together here. Now, some people involved with Ripple, some members of Ripple staff, have mentioned that they have been having White House meetings. And my issue here is that painting XRP as much more centralized than Bitcoin here, that is simply not true by any real definition. The underlying technology doesn't really differ in a significant way as to decentralization, and a much larger part of Bitcoin's circulating supply is owned by fewer accounts than the XRP supply. Because while Ripple the company owns a large amount of XRP, those are all locked away in escrow, and only 1 billion of them is released every month, with a large part of that put back in. The vast majority of the XRP they hold is locked up in escrow, is not part of the circulating supply, and cannot be used to dump the coin or run an attack on the network. But what we're going to see here, if we continue reading, is that there is a distinct, in a seemingly positive article, that is absolutely clickbaity and just adding a bunch of stuff together that isn't actually news, you will find that there's a distinct anti-XRP bias in here. And this is the first part where it really shines through. It's subtle, but it's distinct. There's a rumor that the Trump administration may pit a much more controlled XRP against the decentralized digital currency phenomenon like Bitcoin. This paints Bitcoin as the more decentralized phenomenon, and XRP as the tool for the use of the Trump administration. Ripple CEO Brad Garlinghouse earlier clarified that holding XRP tokens does not provide holders rights to companies' dividends of ownership. In a broader sense, XRP is a utility token currently powering the cross-border payment aspects on the Ripple blockchain. The more demand there is for the token, the higher its price would go. The rules are clear. XRP is completely separated from Ripple, Garlinghouse explained. However, traders think otherwise. They tend to hold XRP and speculate on their price actions based on the fundamental signals from Ripple. New partnerships, for instance, boost XRP price every time, even though the companies involved in the deal may not use the digital coin in reality. Now, a lot of this is simply false or misleading. Now, first of all, there's very little connection that we can tell between announcements of new Ripple partnerships and the XRP price going up. In fact, what we often see, and it baffles some of us, is that after new partnerships are announced, the XRP price actually seems to fall a tiny bit. Like, for the vast majority of partnership announcements, we don't see a direct effect on the XRP price. So this part of the claim is already pretty much false. And then further here they mention, and this is the misleading, not the false part, even though the companies involved in the deal may not use the digital coin in reality. Now, what you have to keep in mind here is that, yes, a lot of these partnerships do not use the XRP token, and thus it wouldn't make sense for it to instantly affect the XRP price, which it doesn't. It really doesn't. But you have to also keep in mind here that Ripple's market strategy is onboarding companies with Xcurrent with technologies that do not use the XRP token or do not necessitate using the XRP token, and then moving them onto software products, onto solutions that do use the XRP token. So a partnership that initially doesn't use the XRP token is still a positive signal for the XRP token, because the entire strategy is to get people started with that. That is like if you have a store and you're selling something in there. Someone walking into this store doesn't necessarily mean that they're buying something. Someone walking into the store is not the same as buying something. But when someone walks through the door, that increases the chances of a product being sold. And that is how this works. New Ripple partnerships that don't initially use the XRP token don't mean that the XRP token is being used, but they increase the chances of more companies using the XRP token in the future, thus making XRP a more promising investment, thus increasing the price potentially. So we see a lot here. Now continuing on. From a legal point of view, a lack of asset class denotation alone could hamper XRP's chance to get listed on a regulated US exchange. For instance, if the SEC ends up classifying XRP as a security token, then it would discourage exchanges like Coinbase to deal with it due to drastically stricter regulations. Nevertheless, XRP could get listed on equity exchanges under the same donations. Here we have another issue where the things they're saying aren't technically incorrect, but they subtly paint a negative and relatively hopeless image for XRP. And they're not necessarily basing that in fact, because the SEC hasn't come out and classified XRP. You know what they also haven't come out and classified? Pretty much every cryptocurrency. The SEC doesn't go out and classify every cryptocurrency as a security or not. And what we have heard over and over from a variety of experts, some of them even associated or formerly associated with the SEC, is that they don't think there's reason to believe that XRP is a security. And yet we have this narrative, and this narrative gets pushed and repeated by all these outlets. And it's all part of this underlying current of a XRP negative bias. Now, of course, this is to be expected in a website that calls itself News BTC, that Bitcoin would be pushed up and anything else subtly attacked. Well, it's not really an attack, but you can tell here, under the guise of positive journalism about XRP and getting in all the clickbait clicks from that headline and from that beginning of the article, they then go on and just pile on all the negative things, some of them misleading. And you see this with a lot of articles about XRP, and you don't see the same thing for most other major tokens, most other major coins. That is the thing here. If all the reporting on all the coins was like this, accentuating the negative, going into a whole 4 or 5 paragraphs at the end, just about potential issues and and criticisms some people have, regardless of if they make any sense. But no, this only really happens consistently with all the major pages when they're talking about XRP. But as of now, XRP is functioning as a utility token and appears to be falsely tied with the progress of its parent company Ripple, barring XRapid, which does use the token to settle international transactions. Once again here, that isn't falsely tied is misleading here, because while they are separate, Ripple's success does translate into more success for the XRP token, since products using the token are ultimately what they are trying to push into the market, and Ripple provide the infrastructure for it. So Ripple, as a company growing and gaining more partnerships, creates a better environment for the XRP token to succeed. In the meantime, it is better to hear from Coinbase what it truly thinks about adding XRP as a tradable asset on its platform. Until then, the rallies appear meaningless in the longer term. At the time of writing, XRP's market cap in third spot is 21.5 billion, and Ethereum just above it is 22.8 billion. So here, I just wanted to read this article because we see this so much. There's a subtle and persistent anti-XRP bias through most of the major crypto pages. And this would be fine if they treated all coins with this, but they don't. It's only XRP that consistently gets articles like this. Literally the entire second half of this article is just going through issues, focusing on the negative, some of it not even based in reality, a lot of it misleading, and they're all always pushing the same couple narratives as well, even the ones that are easily disproven or that are completely meaningless. And it's, you notice this stuff after a while, it's persistent and it's really annoying. But the main takeaway from this video is supposed to be that a lot of experts agree that the near future is looking very bright. We have technical indicators all pointing in the same direction. We have the infrastructure below the crypto markets improving at a rapid pace. We have institutional and personal interest in crypto higher than ever before. We have a lot of stuff coming up in the near future. Absolutely not least of them, the backed launch. And we also have XRP doing spectacularly well with rumors that are absolutely not new rumors, even if they're being reported on here as if they were recent, that XRP might make it on Coinbase soon. Honestly, even if it doesn't make it on Coinbase, XRP is doing spectacularly well. XRP is one of the best performers in the last couple of weeks. If you look at the movements from the last couple of days when the markets shot up, it very much looks like XRP dragged everything else along, which isn't the first time this has happened in the last couple of months either. XRP has dragged the markets along a couple times. XRP has power over the markets that it never had before. And something that I think a lot of people miss because they don't want to see it is that XRP now has this power. When XRP goes up 10%, it drags the rest of the market along by 1, 2, 3, 4%. Usually only Bitcoin and to a lesser degree occasionally Ethereum had this power. XRP is now starting to have this power as well, and XRP will be a major player in whatever bull market is about to happen, even if it takes more than a couple of weeks for it to come. In the next bull market, watch XRP. But takeaway from this video, it is looking very bright, and I just wanted to make a positive video like this just for once. And I know towards the end I got into some media and news criticism, but I'm sorry about that. That's just what I do. I go off on tangents and I rant. But the takeaway is supposed to be, look, a lot of people here agree that there are good chances we're going to have a very nice surprise by the end of the year. And with that, I'm gonna leave you guys. As always, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate all of you, especially the ones who've stuck around for a while. I see some of you have been commenting since pretty much the beginning of the channel, and I really appreciate that. These articles are all linked in the description. In the description you will also find ways to support this channel if you really like it, as well as my social media pages. And thank you guys so much for watching. I'll be back with a regular news update and market update video tomorrow.